Hello and welcome to Ontario One Call's annual winter training. I'm Jeff Hitchcock, Training Education Program Manager for Ontario One Call. I've worked as an agent, answering Ontario One Call calls. I've also worked as the team leader for Ontario One Call's effort to register infrastructure, and now as the person in charge of training and education materials provided by Ontario One Call. I've also worked as an excavator requesting locates through the Ontario One Call system. This training is aimed at existing users of Ontario One Call services. If you've contacted Ontario One Call either by phone or by web in the past few months, this training is for you. If you've just started to use Ontario One Call services or you have not yet, there are a plethora of other tutorial videos on how to use our locate request systems available on our website or YouTube channels. I suggest you check those out first. In this training, we're going to be going over what we've accomplished this year, our annual plan for changes for next year. We'd also like to offer those who will be affected by the upcoming changes some additional training resources. And lastly, we thought we'd take this opportunity to supply you with some tips on requesting a locate. This year, Ontario One Call spent time working on tweaking the settings of the web portal so you get the optimal experience. A big thank you goes out to everyone who reported bugs or problems with our web service. Without your feedback, we cannot continue to improve. The big change to map selection notification, or MSN, that we made in December 2017 has had a sizable ripple effect. On average, excavators are waiting for one less member per ticket. For owners of infrastructure, this means they respond to 600,000 less locates per year. That number is just up to September. By the end of the year, we're expecting that to push up to 750,000 fewer locates going out to owners of infrastructure. This should translate to better response times for you. We've also been gathering your feedback since we last talked, considering what changes you would like to make to your Ontario One Call system. We will be making some changes in March to better prepare you for the coming dig season. Here's a sneak peek at the upcoming changes. We are working on some additional tools for map selections. Specifically, we're making some tools that are being developed to assist those planting trees, installing or placing poles, or doing borehole work. Stay tuned in early 2019 for training and webinars on our upcoming mapping tools. Also in March of 2019, Ontario One Call will continue our program to move more professional excavators to the web. During this phase, only requests that encompass a single civic address will be taken over the phone. Exceptions are made for emergency locates, of course, but for our standard locate requests, we will only accept single civic locates over the phone. To be clear, multiple address locates must be put through via the web, as well as locates without an address. That is multiple addresses on the same street between the same two cross streets. We're talking about multiple address locates. Requests that reference a single civic address but aren't at that address must be put through via the web. For example, requests like 300 meters north of 123 Pine Street, where the excavation is not happening at the address referenced, but is instead near the address, that would need to be placed through on the web. This would also be the case where civic address isn't a good descriptor for the site, for example, putting in new posts along Highway 401 to place signs. Ontario One Call is dedicated in supporting you through this transition. We know that people have different comfort levels when it comes to technology, and for many people this will be a change in how they do this part of their job. We're making that change with the knowledge that professional excavators understand their work area. You are the best source of information about your work. To better support you, we will now be showing you two scenarios on obtaining locates with multiple addresses and where no civic address applies. Afterwards, we're going to show you even more support for obtaining locate requests. First, you'll need to head to on1call.com. Open any browser you'd like and type in on1call.com. When the page loads, it should look like this. Over on the right-hand side of the page, there's a button that says Submit Requests Online. Click on that. Now, for those of you who have never used the web before, you can email solutions@oneCall.com at any time to obtain a username and password. You're going to need to tell them what email address you'd like to use as your login name and what your contractor ID is. Now, that's the number we ask at the beginning of every call when you call into Ontario One Call. They'll get your account set up within 48 hours with a temporary password, and they're going to email you back. This new user link down here at the bottom, that's for companies who have never used Ontario One Call before. That'll get you a brand new contractor ID if you were to click on it. If you've forgotten your password, but you do have a username set up, you can click on this Forgot Your Password link, and you can get it reset. Now, I'm going to be logging in with my username training@oneCall.com. There we go. And my password, which is, as always, super secret. Now, once I've entered that information, I'm going to click in Login. Excavators have the options of creating a standard ticket, a project ticket. They can search for tickets with this search engine and changing their account settings. Members have a few more options that are related to responding to the tickets that they receive. You can find the definition of a project work ticket right here, and you can read that at your leisure. Today, I'm going to concentrate on creating standard locate requests. For all other options, feel free to check out our website or YouTube page. There are plenty of helpful videos on all of these things that you can do with Ontario One Call online. And if you want additional help, feel free to email us at solutions@oneCall.com. Again, to create a standard locate online, click on Create Ticket. And just like you would on the phone, the website starts to show you what contact information Ontario One Call has on hand for you. Your name, your phone numbers, your email address are all found here. And you can make temporary changes to any of this information. For example, if you wanted to list a fax number, you can enter it here under fax number. The fax number I have on hand for this company is 519-555-1742. That'll help if I choose to have this particular locate marked out and faxed back. You can also indicate who the work is being done for here in this working for field. In this case, the company ABC Excavation Inc. was the successful bidder on part of the Gardiner Expressway project for the City of Toronto. Mainly that's guardrail replacements that they've been designated. You can just enter City of Toronto in that case in the working for field to indicate all of that. Next, you'll need to scroll down a little bit and find the MUNTWSP field. Note that any field that's mandatory has a red star or asterisk beside it. This will help filling out the form. MUNTWSP is the form asking what municipality or township you're working in. In this case, the answer is simple. If we're working for the City of Toronto, it's likely that we're working in the City of Toronto. For this example, start entering the word Toronto slowly. T-O-R. As you're typing, the system is searching to find out what municipality you mean. Ontario One Call agents are doing the same thing when you call in. None of these entries look like Toronto. You could try scrolling through the entries with this little scroll bar here, but I find it easier and faster just to keep typing. Oh. And now we're at Toronto. As you can see, there are community names here as well. These are helpful in finding the correct municipality when you know the local name for a place that you're going to be digging in. For example, if you were to type out Alderwood, the system would then select Toronto, as Alderwood is a smaller part of Toronto. In this case, ABC Excavation Inc. is working basically downtown, so no need to enter in anything other than Toronto. But you must click on Toronto to continue this example. It is vital that you select something from that dropdown. Otherwise, the most important part of this information doesn't get translated to the rest of the form, and then the form doesn't work. Again, you must select something in that dropdown for this form to function. Next, we need to scroll down a little bit. And we have here an area to provide an address, street, and a couple of cross streets. But in this example, we don't have an address. So what do you enter here? You need to place in the street field the name of the street or road that you're working along or parallel to. I'll say that again. You need to write in the street field the name of the street the work is along or parallel to. If you're not working along a street, use a road that's roughly parallel to your excavation area. In this example, ABC Excavation Inc. is replacing the guardrail along the Gardiner Expressway. The section of the Gardiner that's being worked on is between the exit to Dufferin Street and the exit to Strawn Avenue. Also on the work order, it's specified that at this time, ABC Excavation Inc. is working on the eastbound lane only. The guardrail extends from Dufferin to Strawn. These are all very critical details. So because the excavation is along the Gardiner Expressway, you can search for that street the same way you searched for Toronto. Enter a few letters at first, G-A-R-D. And as you can see, a selection of name appears. If what you're looking for doesn't appear, just keep typing I. There we go. There's the Gardiner Expressway. Click on the street name to select it. In the intersection 1 and 2 fields, you will need to enter the cross streets on either side of your excavation area, basically boxing it in. In the previous description, the excavation was going from Dufferin to Strawn. Those become the cross streets for this excavation. For most streets in the Ontario One Call database, if you click on the little arrow or drop down beside intersection 1 and intersection 2, you can just simply select from the list that's there. However, the Gardiner Expressway is very long, so you'll need to enter in a few letters in order to narrow down your search. DUF gives me Dufferin Street, and STR gives me Strawn. If a street or cross street doesn't appear in the search, Ontario One Call recommends a few things. Number 1, verify you're in the correct municipality. Our street search is limited to the municipality you have selected. Number 2, make sure you have the correct spelling. For numbered roads, try using numbers instead of spelling out the street. Most numbered streets are truly numbers in our system. So if you're looking for County Road 34, type in the number 3 and then the number 4. Don't type out THIRTY and then FOUR to try to find 34. Doesn't always work. More often than not, it's the number. You can override anything in these boxes by just typing out whatever you have at hand. As a note, overriding the dig street in the street field will not allow you to select stuff from the drop-downs in the intersection 1 or intersection 2 fields. For best results, choose from the drop-down whenever you can. So now we've boxed in an area on the map. We need to select our excavation zone on the map with Ontario One Call's map selection tools. Now, every time you load up this map, a tutorial is available to you. Today, I will be acting as your tutorial, so I will say no thank you. This tool can be summed up very simply. Show me on the map where you want to dig. This tool, correctly used, can take practice. So I recommend that you practice, 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 and seek feedback so you can learn from your tickets as you go. Now, the first thing to note is that up on your map is always north. So this way is north, this way is south, this way is east, that way is west. That information is going to help keep you oriented a little bit. This is an image of the area you've entered as the street and cross street information above. To zoom in on this image, just click on the plus button and zoom in. To zoom out, click on the minus button. In this example, ABC Excavation Inc. is working the whole segment from Dufferin to Strawn, but only the eastbound lane. Zoom out until you can see the entire excavation zone, including the cross streets. Dufferin, Strawn, Gardner Expressway. Perfect. You'll also see that whenever your mouse is over the map, it's a hand. You can click and hold and move the mouse around in order to adjust and center up the map if you want. It looks good to me. There are 3 buttons on the top left of this screen. The one that looks like an eraser is the erase tool. The one that looks like a pencil indicates the drawing tools that you can use to select your excavation zone. And the square that you see here is a measuring tool. One of the things you need to do when requesting Locate Online is select your excavation zone with a draw tool. The owners of infrastructure who are notified on your locate request are determined in large part by you selecting the correct excavation zone. When you click on the pencil, it offers 2 types of map selections. One says, draw a shape. The other one, draw a line. A shape tool draws shapes. Any infrastructure registered with Ontario One Call inside the shape will get selected. This is the safest tool to use. It's great for requesting parking lots and roads and pools and landscaping, or, for example, 5-meter radius around boreholes, electrical or telephone lines, telephone poles rather, that sort of thing. The line tool draws a line. Any infrastructure under the line gets selected. I find this tool personally fast to use. It's great for precise work like fences, installing or repairing pipes or cables, foundation repair, guardrails. It has an adjustable width up to 10 meters, so a pole line selected with a line tool might be an appropriate selection. If you're ever in doubt which tool to use, please use the shape tool. As I said, it is the safest tool for excavators to use, and it's very easy to use. You can also make multiple map selections on a given locate request. You can use both types of tools to make those map selections. In this case, guardrails are a thicker, stronger fence. So we're going to choose the Draw a Line tool by clicking on it. You should take this time again to get oriented. Up is north, east is off to the right. ABC Excavation Inc. is digging up the eastbound guardrail. Therefore, we will need to make a selection on the south side of the Gardiner Expressway. Move your mouse toward the end of your selection or to a point where you want to start. To start, click once. Again, in this example, you're going to want to start at one of the intersections, like so. There we go. Move your mouse towards the other end of the selection. To change direction, like on this curve here, just click once. There we go. Continue moving and clicking until you've reached the end. To end your selection, double-click. After that, a pop-up appears. You can name your selection like guardrail. You can also give your selection a width. In this case, you would choose something like 5 meters. So I would choose M, choose the width 5. That information does not get transmitted to any infrastructure owner in this manner. It's just simply used for the map selection. Selections that do not cover your excavation zone will likely mean missing infrastructure owners on your ticket. This means if you dig outside of the area selected on your map, you may be held liable for any damages that occur. To attach your map selection, first click on Save, and then scroll down and click Attach. There are other tools to help you find your location and make your map selection. Again, there are measuring tools and a street view tool that are covered in other tutorials. Suffice to say that Ontario One Call is adding more tools in the spring of 2019. If you have other ideas on what tools Ontario One Call can place into your hands, kindly contact us at solutions@ownonecall.com. That's the email that sends you your ticket confirmations. If you have your own sketch, by the way, you can upload it in this section here with the Attach a File feature. However, a personal sketch is not a replacement for the Ontario One Call map selection tool. Next, you must indicate the maximum depth of excavation. Most people use feet, but you can also click on this drop-down and use anything from centimeters to miles. The maximum depth for this particular work will be 3 meters. The next area below requires you to check off any checkboxes that apply for your job, like stating you're working on public or private property, whether you have pre-marked the area or not, whether you're digging with machine tools or hand tools, and you need to get at least one checkbox in each of these selections. Please note that anytime you select the hand dig checkbox, the website will remind you of the definition of hand digging, which you must select I understand to and click OK before proceeding. If you do not agree, please click Cancel. The system will remove the hand dig selection. You can also indicate that you're using a directional drill or other trenchless method of excavation in the optional information section found here. Also in the optional information area, you can request a mark and fax or indicate if a site meeting is requested. A mark and fax will have some infrastructure owners respond by marking out the area and faxing back your completed locate. Requesting a site meet is typical in situations to where the location or finding the property is difficult, like if you're digging on a secure site where a locator is going to be greeted by security guards. For this ticket, we will be digging on public property only. The area is pre-marked. We will be digging by machine tools only. And we would like a mark and fax. By default, you will note that there is a work to begin field found here, and it's set for 5 business days from the date that you are requesting. If you wish to provide more notice, just simply change the date forward by clicking on the drop-down and selecting something on the calendar. Keep in mind that members have until the end of the date that you state here to make a reasonable attempt at completing your locate before it can be considered late. You can submit locates up to 1 year in advance of your intended dig. Members will only be notified of your dig 10 days prior to your selected work to begin date if you choose that option. I am fine with 5 business days. Next, choose the closest type of work from the drop-down list provided, and this tells us why you're digging. And click on the type of work drop-down and just type GU, there we go, and choose guardrail. Last but not least, you'll need to enter in some kind of detailed description of work. For example, the type of information you can include in this field are other types of work you're doing, if there is going to be more than one. And just remember to put the deepest type of work into the type of work field rather than just down here. Distance and direction to your dig location from one of the intersections or some geographical reference to help locators find that location. Specifics around your dig, including the side of the property you're working on, like front, back, or side. If you're working on a street, whether you're working on both sides of the street. If you have an on-site contact name and phone number, that can also be useful. And if the site is pre-marked, how exactly is identified. What do we recommend for best results? Refer to fixed structures on the site. Use measurements from those fixed structures, if that makes any sense. Whenever possible, use cardinal directions like north, south, east, or west. In this case, measurements don't really help. With the information on hand, you would write locate existing guardrail, replacing existing guardrail along eastbound lane. If you run out of space in this top box, you can scroll down a little bit here and find more space in the remarks field. You can also add in here the date by which your particular project is expected to be completed if you're creating a project work ticket. Don't include instructions like marking additional streets or areas that are not selected on your locate request. This locate is valid for the location identified in the map selection portion, as only members with infrastructure in the vicinity of your map selection will be notified. Keep in mind, providing more information is the best practice for safe digging. All stakeholders want you to outline your work area in 3 ways. Verbally, with a map selection image that we've already done so far. Verbally, by referring to fixed structures. Physically, with paint or flags when conditions permit. Once you've entered all information, click on the Save button at the bottom of the page. The next thing that happens is that you're going to get a reminder about the depth of excavation. It's a good reminder that if the depth changes, you need to tell Ontario One Call. That goes with all kinds of other things stated on your One Call ticket. If things change, You need to tell Ontario One Call. You can best find out more about how to change tickets either via our YouTube, our website, or by contacting solutions@on1call.com by email. I'm going to click I understand and OK to this waiver. The system is then going to do a cursory audit of the information entered. If I've missed anything, it'll bump me back to the top of the page and tell me what I've missed. This next screen gives me a quick recap of my locate request and what I've entered. I just click Next to continue. If I wanted to go back and change anything, I could click on this edit link down here, and if I wanted to, I could click on delete rather, and halt my ticket as is. On this next page, you're either going to see a ticket number or a list of members with a list of members notified rather, or a note saying that an agent needs to review this particular ticket. If an agent needs to review the ticket, it might take up to 24 hours for them to reach out to me. In general, they will do so via email. If it's a list of members notified, a copy of your request is being routed to that member or their designated third party in whatever means they've indicated to us. That was a lot of explanation and a bit of showing. For the next locate, you should see more doing and less explaining, but you will see the shape tool in action. As before, you can click on Create Ticket to get things started. The contact information here is all correct. No need to add a fax this time around. In this example, ABC Excavation Inc. did a short print advertising campaign to homeowners in the Stony Creek area of Hamilton. They were advertising a special on street tree planting. They gave homeowners a choice of a few species, and 3 homeowners on one street have paid their deposit, signed contracts, permits have arrived, so now the next job in this process is digging several holes to plant some trees. The address of those homeowners are all on the same street, 34, 37, and 40 Prestige Drive. All 3 of those addresses are on the same block, just off of Harbright Drive. All of these trees are going in the front boulevard of these houses. The depth for all of these trees is 3 feet, and the location of all these trees has not been marked out by the homeowner. All of that information gives you what you need to create a locate request. So, who's the work being done for? The homeowner. You could write that into the working for field. What municipality or township is this located in? Stony Creek. So in the municipality township field, enter Stony Creek. There. Second from the top. Next, just enter one address. I know we have 3. We're going to enter only one first. That's 34 Prestige Drive. The system then searches for what it thinks are the 2 closest cross streets, and then it has returned Harbright Drive. Note there is no red star, no red asterisk beside the second intersecting field, so that is no longer a required field. You can include as many properties as you'd like on a ticket, as long as they're all on the same street between the same 2 cross streets. There are 2 addresses on the same block, so let's add them to this ticket. To do so, we click on Add. So 34 is now recorded in the ticket. The next one is 37. I click Add. and 40, and click Add. Now, since entering the second and third addresses, there's a star back on this second intersecting field, and that's actually an error. There is no second intersecting road in this case. So to correct this, I'm just simply going to type NA as a second intersecting field. That's because there is none. I'll show you what that actually looks like. This brings us to the map. Again, we're going to skip the tutorial, but it is there every time in order to help you out. And if you've clicked No Thanks by mistake, there is a help button up here that replays it. That's the button that looks like a question mark. As you can see, the addresses are marked out with pin drops. Here, here, and here. If you pan more north, you can see there is a second intersecting road, Dynasty Avenue. If ABC Excavation Inc. had more houses to work on that were between Harbright and Dynasty, those would form a second ticket. So let's scroll back down to where the actual work lies. Here on Harbright. You could make your selections from this vantage point. You can see all three addresses. You could also zoom in a bit closer to, and this is what I mean by NA. Notice that there isn't a second intersecting road. There's Harbright and there's a dead end. But anyway, you can zoom in a bit closer for a little bit more clarity. You can see the houses a bit better now. That's 40. That's 34. That's 37. So yeah, I can see the front of the houses a little bit more clearly. And if I pan up just a little bit, I can see the cross street right there. That looks good. It's a good idea to stay oriented. Next, we're going to click on the Draw tool and select the Shape tool. It's important that you draw a shape in this instance. We're going to draw a box. If we were going to try to draw a box with the Line tool, there's going to be a very small but significant gap at the end. And any infrastructure that's inside the box is going to get missed. So just like the Line tool, the Shape tool needs a place to start. Click once to start your shape. Move your mouse to the next corner and click to change direction. Move your mouse to the next corner and click again to change direction. Now move your mouse to the final corner. Note that the lines are in red. This means you're in the process of constructing the shape, or in the previous example, a line. But also note that the area inside the shape is shaded somewhat. This is to indicate that you're selecting an area as your excavation zone. So let's double click here for the final corner. And as you would with the Line tool, you can also provide a label for the shape. In this one, I'm going to choose the label Tree at 34 and click Save. So we're going to need to do that again. There's number 40. I'm going to choose Draw Shape. I'm going to make a box in their front yard. I'm going to double click to close it off. And my tree, or rather my label, It's going to be tree at 40. And save. Click on the last pinpoint. Confirm it's number 37. And click on the shape tool. Start and end my selection. And the label for this tree at 37. Click Save. I'll scroll down a little bit and click on Attach Sketch. Now, as previously stated, the depth of each of these trees is no deeper than 3 feet. They're street trees, trees planted in the boulevard or as close to the road as the permit's going to allow. That means they're going to be all going on public property. It was mentioned earlier that this area is not marked at all. While it is a best practice to mark the area you wish to dig in, each of the homeowners refused to do so when asked, and with the work going on the Gardner Expressway, ABC Excavation Inc. does not have enough resources to put down paint at each of these locations. They all seem very easy to find. We've made a map selection showing where they are as well. So we will indicate areas not marked. The excavation will both be by machine and hand, to which I will say I understand and okay. This is the waiver confirming that hand digging is by shovel or spade only, and I get that. Now, in this example, there was no fax number provided. So down in here, we can't really choose mark and fax. In this case, I want to mark an email. Very similar to mark and fax, the area gets marked out and emailed back to me. So for mark and email, I type in my very first comment, mark and email. The rest of my description is as follows. Trees to be planted between curb and sidewalk. Okay. I'm going to click Save to Continue. Again, the depth waiver appears, to which I understand, and I will click OK. And I will, it appears, as you can see, I am missing my type of work. When you forget or when you miss a required field, the system brings you to the top of the locate request when you click on save and tells you what you missed. And this one says the type of work field is mandatory. If I scroll down, the type of work field is highlighted in red. I select it and quickly type tree for tree planting. I click on that. And I click Save to Continue. Once again, the confirmation page appears, and I click on Next. And this ticket, like the last one, is going to be reviewed by an Ontario One Call agent. Again, it'll take them 24 hours to review and respond, and again, generally speaking, they will respond by email. Ontario One Call understands that every situation is different, and we're in a variety of places to help you succeed for the next dig season. As we get closer to March 2019, you may find yourself looking for additional help in preparing for this transition. If you're a landscaper, Ontario One Call will have a booth at the Landscape Ontario Congress in Toronto. Come for a visit and we'll show you how to obtain a locate request. Landscape Ontario Congress is January 8th, 9th, and 10th, 2019. You can check out locongress.com for more information. We'll also be at the Ontario Regional Common Ground Alliance's Symposium from February 13th through 15th in Niagara Falls. You can find out more about the annual Damage Prevention Symposium at orcga.com. Ontario One Call will be running more webinars in March 2019 in order to support this transition as well. You can also contact our solutions team by email at solutions@ownonecall.com. Get a conversation going about how to obtain your locates online. This team is there to help you every step of the way. If you prefer on-site instruction, Ontario One Call offers on-site training. While this training is provided free of charge, we have limited personnel to do it. So if you would like to have someone come and train your staff, kindly contact us at training@ownonecall.com. Either way, get in contact with us to make sure your next year is safe and successful. Finally, we'd like to show you a tip for better locate results when you apply for your locates online. To ensure you get your locates promptly and limit any phone calls to confirm the dig location, we encourage you to include identifying landscape features in your map selection. This could be one or both of the intersecting streets, a curve or bend in the road, a clearly identified body of water, a bridge, anything else that would help those who are viewing your locate through a screening center or at a one-call office. This information could be most valuable for locate service providers attending the site as well. Here, what you see is a map selection for culvert replacement. The map selection clearly shows the work area, but it's difficult to identify where the property is versus any surrounding landmarks. This would actually be a more ideal map selection. Those responding to the locate request here at Ontario One Call or at any screening center would be able to identify that the work is taking place at the first property north of North Talbot Road on the west side of the road. Any locator going to the site would know if they're traveling south along Naylor Side Road and they pass North Talbot Road, they need to turn around. This technique is especially helpful in rural locations. So, how do you do that? Let me show you. I already have a ticket filled out with the appropriate contact information, address, street, cross-street information. When the map populates, you can make the map selection for the culvert replacement. The location, again, is the last property or two on the west side of the road, closest to North Talbot Road. The address, unfortunately, is not written down. And again, recall that up on your screen is north. So I'm going to click on No Thank You. I'm going to continue panning down along North Talbot Road, or rather on Naylor Side Road, until I find North Talbot Road. There we are. I'm going to pan north to find my location, make my selection with the draw tool. I'm going to click on the pencil icon and select the Draw a Shape tool. I'm going to draw a box around the driveway culvert that needs replacing. Double click to end. When the label box appears here, I'm just going to click Save. Not going to give it any label. I'm going to attach the selection to my ticket. So this is great. We're through part one of actually a two-part map selection. So far, pretty easy, right? As you can see, my screen has refreshed. there's actually a refresh button on the map as well. Normally where the map is located, that's what this button is. If I click this, it refreshes the map. If I zoom out and pan down a bit, there is my map selection in gray. There's my cross street. Let's see if I can get them in the same picture here. Pardon me. That's much better. So yeah, as I said, the previous map selection appears, but it's grayed out. We can make that same map selection by, again, clicking on the pencil, clicking on Draw a Shape, and making a box around that same culvert. I can label it Culvert Replacement. And click Save. And then again, I scroll down and click on Attach Sketch. Optionally, you can delete the old sketch by clicking on Delete. You can tell which one is older by the creation date. It's found right here. No. I think that's enough examples for now. Thank you all for watching. To recap, there are no changes planned for winter 2018. In March 2019, we will be holding training on the changes we're making for the next dig season. Among those changes are additional tools for people who are doing poles, boreholes, or tree work. Ontario One Call will also only take single civic address locates over the phone for standard locates in March 2019. We showed you how to complete locate requests online for multiple addresses and for locations where no address would apply. We also talked about making map selections while showing an overhead observable landmark like a cross street. As always, if you have additional questions after today, feel free to reach out at any time by email at solutions@ownonecall.com. Dig safe. Have an excellent day.